Hello everybody and welcome to Gene's Reviews from a regular dude here in my car. If you're not yet subscribed, please think about subscribing, and also make sure you tap that bell icon so you can be notified every single time that I upload a new video. To all my subscribers, thank you very much. Also, if you stick around till the end of the video, I have a joke. Today I thought we'd check one out from a channel called Top 5s. This is normal looking houses with disturbing as backstories. So let's check this out.
It's customary to visit places, point out buildings of interest, or remark on a particularly quaint or luxurious looking home. However, some normal looking homes hold haunting secrets within their walls.
Yep. You never know who lived there before you.
We will look at 5 such homes that, if walls could talk, would recite the true horrors that occurred in them. Hit those lights, sit back and enjoy.
Grab yourself a beverage or some popcorn. I got my Diet Pepsi.
The Cursed Mansion. For decades, a multi-million-dollar mansion has been left empty in an upscale neighborhood in Los Feliz, Los Angeles. The house gained a reputation for being cursed ever since its first residents moved in nearly 100 years ago. The reputation was solidified in 1959 when it was the scene of an unspeakable crime. Officially known as Glendower Place, the 5,050 square foot mansion was built in 1925. Its first owners were Harold and Florence Schumacher. However, within 3 years of the purchase of their dream home, they were both dead. More tragedy followed for the next owner, magazine editor Welford Beaton. His son passed away in the house just days before his 21st birthday, and a year later, Beaton faced bankruptcy. The house was then sold to Dr. Harold Perelson, and he moved in with his wife Lillian and their 3 children. However, on the night of December 6, 1959, Dr. Perelson went crazy and bludgeoned his wife to death with a ball-peen hammer and attempted to beat his 18-year-old daughter, Judy. However, Judy managed to escape and call for help. When police arrived, they found Perelson dead next to his wife after he took a fatal concoction of water, acid, and tranquilizer pills. Thankfully, his 2 other children were unharmed.
Sounds like a painful way to go.
It is unknown why the doctor snapped. However, police at the time believed it was due to money troubles. It was also revealed that he had been hospitalized after World War II with mental problems.
Okay.
A year after the murder-suicide, the house was bought by Emily and Julian Enriquez. They never lived in it and never changed the original decor. In 1994, their son inherited the house, and like his parents, neither stayed nor made any changes to the mansion. Over the years, neighbors and visitors reported peering through the grimy windows and seeing a place frozen in time. They observed a 1950s-style television set, a Christmas tree, and neatly wrapped gifts.
Why would you buy a house
rooms.
and not live in it?
In 2016, the house was purchased by civil rights attorney Lisa Bloom.
Yeah, sell it.
Known for her work with Harvey Weinstein. It's unclear whether she ever lived there, but she sold the property in 2020 for $2.4 million, after it had been completely renovated. The house was sold to a real estate investor. However, it seems things didn't work out, and at the time of writing this, the house is at risk of foreclosure and is scheduled to be sold. It would be interesting to see if anyone is willing to take on a house
Yeah.
where one of
Really
Hollywood's
interesting.
most
I would never
infamous
live in it.
crimes took place. Would you?
No.
"942 Beachcomber Lane. This house in Clear Lake, Houston looks ordinary enough.
Yeah.
However, never judge a book by its
Oh,
cover,
I remember
as
this.
this is where a mother drowned her 5 children
Schweibo?
in the family bathtub. Registered nurse Andrea Kennedy married Russell Yates, a
Oh,
NASA
Yates.
engineer, in
That's
1993.
That's it.
Both were deeply religious and announced after their wedding day that they would seek to have as many babies as nature allowed. The couple went on to have 5 babies, despite Andrea's struggles with postpartum psychosis and depression. In fact, after the birth of their 4th child, Andrea's psychiatrist urged the couple
I
not
remember
to have
this.
any more children.
This was really sad.
Sadly, a warning that was not heeded. After giving birth to her 5th child in March 2000, Andrea seemed to be coping well. However, that changed when her father died on March the 12th, 2001. She was deeply affected by his passing and stopped taking her medication, spiraling into depression and suicidal thoughts.
She looks like she
Andrea
has
was
psychosis
hospitalized
of
on more than
some
one
kind.
occasion, and after her last release,
Or on
her
medication.
husband was advised to supervise his wife around the clock. But sadly, again, this advice was not heeded. On June the 20th, 2001, Russell left for work, leaving Andrea alone at home with their 5 children. His mother was due to arrive within the hour to help out. However, in the space of that hour, Andrea Yates drowned all 5 children
Yeah.
in the bathtub.
Wow.
John, aged 5, Paul, aged 3, and Luke, aged 2, were first to be killed, and Andrea laid their bodies in her bed. Then, after killing baby Mary, aged 6 months, she laid her body in John's arms. Last to be killed was 7-year-old Noah, who she left floating in the bathtub. Andrea then called the police, reportedly saying she needed an officer, but refusing to say why. She then called Russell and told him to come home right away. When officers arrived, they discovered the heartbreaking scene. After police arrested Andrea, she immediately confessed that she was the woman who drowned her kids. She even told them that she waited for her husband to leave before filling the bathtub and killing them, and even locked the family dog in the kennel that morning to keep him from interfering, indicating a degree of premeditation. She later told a psychiatrist that her children would not grow up to be righteous, and believed killing them before they turned sinful would save them from hell, and that only her own execution for killing them would defeat Satan on earth. During her trial, it
She
was
might have
revealed that
saved them
Andrea
from
had
hell,
struggled
but I
with
don't
her
know
mental
about
health
her.
throughout her life, and in addition, had been dangerously influenced by the religious teachings of Michael Warreniki, an unaffiliated cleric who preached a zealous form of righteousness that emphasized austere family living. In March 2002, a jury rejected her insanity defense and found Yates guilty. She was sentenced to life in prison with parole eligibility in 2041. However, in 2005, an appeals court discovered that false testimony by an expert for the prosecution had tainted the 2002 trial. As a result, Yates earned a new trial where she was declared not guilty by reason of insanity. She was sentenced to remediation in the Kernville State Hospital, a low-security mental health facility in Texas.
Well, I think she is mentally
Every year
ill.
as her release
for
comes
sure.
up for review, Andrea rejects it. She will likely spend the rest of her life at the facility. For a more
Better
in-depth
than
look
prison.
at this heinous case, head over to our Murderous
That's really
Minds
terrible,
channel.
though. Feel bad for her husband.
Houses of Horror. These two unassuming houses in the suburbs of London hide the horror of their gruesome history, as these are the two former houses of one of Britain's most prolific serial killers, Dennis Nilsen. The first house is
Haven't heard of this.
195 Melrose Avenue in Cricklewood, northwest London, where Dennis Nilsen rented a flat and murdered his first victim in 1978. He went on to murder at least 12 other young men at the house and hid their bodies under the floorboards. When the stench became too unbearable, he removed and dissected the corpses and burned the remains on a communal bonfire on waste ground behind his flat. Nilsen crowned the bonfire with an old car tire to disguise the smell of the burning flesh. In mid-1981, Nilsen's landlord decided to renovate the property and asked him to move out. In a panic the day before he vacated his flat, Nilsen burned the last of the dissected bodies remaining in the flat, again ensuring the bonfire was crowned with an old car tire to disguise the smell. On October the 5th, 1981, Nilsen moved into a flat at 23D Cranley Gardens in the Muswell Hill district of North London. In his new home, Nilsen had no access to a garden, and because it was an attic flat, he was unable to stow any bodies beneath his floorboards. However, this didn't stop his killing spree, and the victims he murdered between 1982 and 1983 were retained at the flat. He boiled their heads, hands, and feet to remove flesh, and flushed it along with smaller bones down the toilet.
Man, this
On
is
February
gruesome.
the 4th, 1983, Nilsen wrote a letter of complaint to estate agents saying that the drains at Cranley Gardens were blocked, and the situation for both himself and the other tenants at the property was intolerable. A few days later, Dino Rod's drain clearance arrived to diagnose the problem. After opening a drain cover at the side of the house, they discovered it was packed with a flesh-like substance and numerous small bones of
Oh
unknown
my
origin.
goodness.
Fearing they may be human, the workers called the police. A pathologist soon confirmed the remains were human, and it was established they had been flushed from the top floor flat that Nilsen occupied. When officers paid Nilsen a visit, they were immediately overwhelmed by the smell of rotting flesh.
I thought this was going to be
Soon
more of
after,
like a
human remains were discovered,
haunted houses.
and Nilsen was taken
Wow.
to the police station. En route, officers asked him whether the remains in his flat belonged to one person or two. He replied, 15 or 16, since 1978. Nilsen was brought to a trial on the 24th of October 1983, charged with 6 counts of murder and 2 of attempted murder. He pleaded not guilty on all charges on the grounds of diminished responsibility. The jury reached a majority verdict of guilty on all counts and sentenced Nilsen to life imprisonment with a recommendation that he serve a minimum of 25 years.
it's longer than that. What?
This was later changed to a whole life tariff
There
in
you go.
December 1994. As a result, Nilsen was effectively imprisoned for life,
Good.
a punishment he accepted and chose not to appeal. Nilsen stayed at HMP Full Sutton until he passed away on May the 12th, 2018, at the age of 72. Both of the properties connected to his crimes have now been renovated and are occupied.
It's crazy.
Mount Pleasant Cottage, Caenus, Powys, Mid Wales.
Another one in Britain.
This quaint little cottage in the Welsh countryside
Or
became
Wales.
pivotal to the investigation into the disappearance of 5-year-old April Jones. On the evening of October the 1st, 2012, April pleaded with her parents to let her play with her friend outside even though it was late. Eventually, her parents agreed, with her mother telling her not to stay out for too long. After about 20 minutes, April's mother became concerned about her whereabouts and went outside to call her back in. After being unable to find her, she called 999. April was last seen at around 7:15 p.m. playing with her friends at the Brynigog housing estate in Machynlleth. The first officer on the scene spoke to a child witness who reported seeing April climbing into a grey van. A large-scale search took place in Machynlleth, with numerous civilians, some alerted by social media, joining in. The number of searchers swelled to hundreds by the early morning hours of the 2nd of October. Even the Prime Minister at the time, David Cameron, appealed to the public for April's safe return. It became the largest missing person search in UK police history. Local man Mark Bridger soon became a suspect as he matched the description of the man the eyewitness had seen April with before getting into his van. Despite the absence of a body, on the 6th of October, Bridger was charged with abduction, murder, and attempting to pervert the course of justice. At his trial, a forensic expert told the court that fragments of human bone consistent with a younger individual had been found in the fireplace at Mount Pleasant Cottage. Blood was also found in the cottage that matched April's DNA.
I've never been able to understand that psyche
On the 30th
of
of May
somebody like that.
2013,
I don't get it.
Bridger was found guilty of all charges and was sentenced to life imprisonment with a whole life order.
They just bury him
Bridger
under
has
the
never
jail.
revealed what he did with April's body, but police believe he scattered April's remains across the countryside near his house. In 2014, Mount Pleasant Cottage was purchased by the Welsh Government, who demolished it in November.
That's a good thing to do.
The demolition was watched by April's parents. Although April's body was never found, 17 fragments of bone recovered from the fireplace in Bridger's cottage were buried at a funeral service on the 26th of September 2013.
Sad.
Alex Murdoch Moselle Family Estate. This stunning house is part of the 1,772-acre South Carolina hunting lodge
Boy,
in
that
rural
place
Colleton County,
big.
which was formerly owned by legal dynasty heir Alex Murdoch. But don't be fooled by its stunning facade. It is also the site of suspected drug smuggling, the mysterious death of long-term housekeeper Gloria Satterfield, and a grisly double murder. After Satterfield's death in 2018, Murdoch claimed that dogs caused her to fall down the stairs to force his insurers to make a settlement payment that he pocketed. On June 7th, 2021, at 10:07 p.m, Alex Murdoch called 911 to say he had found the lifeless bodies of his wife Margaret and their son Paul near the family's dog kennels on their sprawling estate. They had both been shot multiple times in the head, wrists, and chest with different guns.
Cartel?
When officers arrived, Murdoch claimed that he had been with his mother, who has dementia, at the time of the killings. However, cell phone data, including a video containing his voice, placed him at the scene. Initially, Murdoch was considered a suspect, but it took more than a year for him to be arrested. In July 2022, he was charged with 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of weapon possession. During this time, Murdoch attempted to hire someone to kill him unsuccessfully, allegedly so that his older son could collect his life insurance. Additionally, numerous charges relating to financial crimes were brought against him. During what was dubbed the trial of the century, Murdoch pleaded not guilty, but admitted to repeatedly lying to police officers about being at the kennels on the night of the murders. He attributed these lies to paranoid thinking due to his addiction to drugs. He also confessed to stealing from his legal clients and his firm, as well as asking a relative to shoot him. On March the 2nd, 2023, after less than 3 hours of deliberation, the jury found Murdoch guilty of 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of possession of a weapon during a violent crime. Because of the intense public interest in the case,
I never heard of
verdict
it.
was transmitted live across the United States on all major news networks. Murdoch was sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. He is currently residing at McCormick Correctional Institution in an 8 by 10 foot cell, a far cry from the luxury mansion he used to live in.
Another one of these rich guys or rich people who thinks they can do anything they want and get away with it. And it's good to see karma come back and get him. Wish it could have got him a little bit earlier, though, before all that happened. That's some disturbing stuff. I thought this was going to be, like I said, about haunted houses or something like that. I didn't think it was going to be like this. But it's pretty creepy. Definitely. Let me know what you thought of that in the comments down below. Now it's time for a joke. I was in town today and I saw people shaking tin cans, collecting for Parkinson's, and I thought, man, that's a little insensitive.